Hello and welcome to the Kitchen Conversations podcast. My name is Patrycja Rozwora and I'm the host of this platform where we speak about contemporary art from so-called Eastern Europe. In each episode, you're going to be introduced to one artist or researcher whose visual or activist practice sheds light onto the complex former socialist region with all its histories, cultures, languages, foods, but also traumas and their inevitable contemporary consequences. The podcast is a fully independent platform existing since May 2020. If you enjoy the monthly conversations, you can support me via Patreon or share the episode with your friends or via social channels. Welcome back, dear listeners. I'm sure many of you have seen or at least heard about the film titled Courage by my today's guest, Belarusian filmmaker Aliaksei Paluyan. His film about the mass protest in response to Alexander Lukashenko's rigged election in August 2020 has received a lot of international attention. Today on the podcast, I talked to Aliaksei 3 years after the premiere of Courage. What's Belarus like today? Where are the young Belarusians who took to the streets in 2020-2021? And what will Aliaksei's new film be about? Welcome, Aliaksei, to Kitchen Conversations.
Thank you for inviting. Thank you.
Happy to have you here. For those who don't know you, please briefly introduce yourself in your own words.
My name is Aliaksei. I'm Belarusian born and Germany-based film director and screenwriter. I studied in Germany and Kunsthochschule Kassel, and since some months I'm living in Berlin. And
Few months only.
Yeah, only a few months. Yeah.
Quite a new Berliner then.
Yes.
And you moved to Germany when?
I moved more than 11 years ago to study.
Mm-hmm. That was your main motivation. Mm-hmm. And why was it Germany, not, for example, Poland and the Łódź film school?
I was thinking, to be honest, about Łódź. I find a stipendium, exchange stipendium at Goethe Institute in Minsk for study in Kassel in Germany. And I was learning German language years before, and it was a idea, okay, why not Germany?
So you also studied film in German then in your school. Wow. Yeah, today we speak English, but of course you speak brilliantly German. But I think we can manage also in English. And why did you choose film as your artistic practice? Were you ever considering something else as a younger person?
I think I did have some romantic motivation and reasons why. One day I was in Goethe Institute in Minsk and watched one brilliant Polish film, Double Life of Veronique by Krzysztof Kieślowski, and I think it was my first real exchange with art house cinema when I was, let's say, young person, but who started to think about the world. And I will never forget this day. And I think there were some transformation in me, and then I started to think about cinema. But I was very, let's say, green in cinema. I had not really understood what cinema is, and maybe it was more motivation to learn it, how to speak video stories in cinema language, to speak in visual art and not in literature art as in theater, or as emotional in music and so on.
I interview here artists or filmmakers, people from the cultural creative field, but doing all kinds of stuff. But somehow every time I see a good film, I'm like, wow, like it somehow really touches me, because film is also in a way very accessible that everyone can watch it. And we have theater rooms where you have so many different people coming. And I think at once it can really move so many people. And I think that's so strong in cinema. That's why I always also love inviting filmmakers like you here. And do you usually work with the same team? Because I think it's important to understand that to make a film, you need a lot of people, right? You need a camera person, you need light, you need sound, all of it.
I have some my colleagues and friends who are working together, but I try to learn. With every new project, I try to learn something new. And for example, I try to work with new DOP, with new camera person, with new actor, with new sound people, because I also learn during this process.
What you need, what works,
Yes,
what
and,
doesn't.
Yeah, and I try to work with experienced people as a professional, of course, but also experienced people. Yeah, it's because for me, every project is a possibility to learn something new.
Also with my podcast, with every conversation, I learn something new. That's why I keep doing it. So let's go into, speaking about your films. What was the first film you made?
Oh, the first film. I was a young student in Art Academy. It was a short documentary film called Sofia. It was about my daughter of my sister. The main protagonist was Sofia. She was maybe 2 or 3 months old. And this documentary was how small baby could manipulate the whole family.
Control,
manipulate, and all family will working only for this 2 months old Sofia. Yeah,
that's a great concept. Was your sister happy about the film?
Yes, of course. Especially Sofia right now. She's
how
12,
old is she? At 12.
And she watching every month, I think, this film.
Great. You also made a film, Country of Women, in 2017. It premiered. I'm very curious about that one.
It's a very personal film because it's a documentary film about one village in west part of Belarus, not so far from Poland, called Libiejki. And this film about village where living almost only women.
Why is that?
Yeah, there are some reasons. When you watch the film, you will understand it.
Yeah, let's not spoil it, okay.
Yeah, of course, mostly male person are dead, husbands, also sons, and there are some other reasons. But all these ladies are very strong. They have this vitality because of this difficult life and struggles in their life. They secure this vitality, and they're really happy. And they're living the life that they wanted to have.
It's kind of like a little matriarchy.
Yes, it is. Yeah, but it was very interesting to observe the lives of these old ladies, and they were happy to share their thoughts and their stories with me, because when young guy coming to this village and spend the time with them, they were very, very happy. And some of them don't really understood that I doing a film. Some of them saw that I do some photos of them, and they share very intimate and personal stories with me. There were 4 protagonists. Unfortunately, only 1 lady is still alive. 3 of them are dead. 2 years later, I done a new film there in this village. It was a lack of happiness. Yeah.
So you got kind of inspired by the landscape, and you
Yes.
made another film there. I will go into that as well. But coming back still to Country of Women, what language did you speak with them?
Belarusian. It's a big question. Of course, we have to deal with 200 years of Russian colonization, and of course, it's connected with language. Yeah,
Russification
process.
It?
Yeah. And most population in Belarus understand Belarusian language. The point is that not all people speaking the language, because we have 2 official language, Belarusian and Russian, and of course, authorities want to popularize Russian more because they need. It's depend of ideological politic of Lukashenko, and you will have much more easy in your life easily when you speak Russian, let's say. But of course, people, as you say, education people who are have to deal with democratic value and activist people and intelligent people. Using Belarusian language, speaking Belarusian
have
language.
the access also and the means to learn it, right?
Of course, yeah.
But then these ladies, they speak it, and it's probably not an act of political activism. They just speak it, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
their
harmonic.
language.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's really great to know also the stories that it's not actually so black and white, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, the another film you did in that village, Lake of Happiness, that wasn't a documentary but a fiction film, fiction film.
Mm-hmm.
What was it about?
It's about a young girl called Yasia. After the death of her mother, her father decided to bring her to orphanage. And he promised her that he will come and took her back. But he didn't come. And she decided to escape from orphanage and come to her village back.
So it is a story that you know or you heard and you turned it into the...
One kind of. It's a story about my father. My father was a prototype of this protagonist of Yasia. He was 7 years old when his mom died, and his father decided to bring him to orphanage.
Because as a man, he thought he cannot raise a kid, or he was...
Yeah, there are some other reasons, because a new wife came, and I don't have truth, because it was taboo topic for my father in my family, but it was very interesting for me, and together with my mom, I started to speak with him and took some information about this topic, but was not so easy to get it. And then I tried to get with my fantasy to create some stories, and I changed a lot of course. And this story was maybe it's about coming of age, to be old, to transform from passive to active state when you 7 years old girl, and I don't want also to spoil the story. Maybe some of people who listening right now want to watch this film.
I think so, yeah, definitely.
Yes, it will be great. The one important information that for me it was very, very important, that the main role will be played by authentical orphanage girl, and I was looking long period of time for this girl, and shortly before the shooting I was very lucky to find her in one orphanage, and she was amazing. She was really authentical, and then I understood, wow, this is my Yasia, this is she, and it was during the film process. It was a conversation on eye levels with her. She didn't play it.
And she was also 7 or a bit older?
She was 7, or 8. I think 7. She was 7, It was very honest from her side, because she didn't play it. She lived before the camera. I think it was absolutely the right decision, because you cannot take a child with a family for this story, and because he don't really understand what doesn't mean, for example, to wait for someone to come. What does it mean? And this someone will not come. How could you explain this child with 7 years old to wait? It's very difficult. And this girl that played the main role understand quite good what does it mean. After the film, by the way, there were a lot of interesting stories. Her mom, of course, there were a lot of attention after the film. And for this girl, her name is Nastya, by the way, and her father and mom found her, and father came to the orphanage.
Biological parents.
Biological, yes. With a new wife, with a new child, and he came to her, and they have one date, and her mom found her, but didn't come. She just wrote, I think, in her social media, she took a photo from one article with Nastya, and at the premiere in Minsk, I think, and she wrote, "My daughter, I love you."
Well, that kind of tells also, right, how complex the stories of such children are. But also amazing that your film moved so much and actually reached those people. And those two films, Country of Women and Lake of Happiness, were their German productions as well?
Yes.
Yeah, because you work for many years now in Germany. As I mentioned at the beginning, I think many of my listeners will know you from, or will just know the film Courage, your film that premiered at the Berlinale in 2021, film about the protests in Belarus, the 2020-2021 protests. And I wrote on my draft, can I actually call this protest a revolution?
It's a good question. I thought about it. I personally not use this word, but I think we have to deal with some aspect that can describe this movement as revolution.
Is it maybe because it goes so brutally suppressed that you do not want to call it revolution? Because a revolution, maybe we think of something that has rather like a positive aftermath.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because of two aspects. The first aspect is it's not changed. It's not successful that we can use it word. The second one, that revolution for me, it's depend with a lot of brutality also from the side of protest part, and people were not brutal.
It was a peaceful protest.
Yeah, peaceful because of some reason, and that's maybe what I say in English, uprising or movement.
Uprising, a movement, these are nice words indeed.
Хорошее время жило.
Ничего с 96-го года не изменилось. Тоже сквозь строй, те же стенки.
I started to work on this film end of 2018.
Yes,
I started
years back.
I started to observe my protagonists, Pavel, Denis, and Marina. I started working on this film with a German camera person, Jesse Masuch. He also living in Berlin, and he worked with Sergei Loznitsa on some of films. And my first idea was to try to understand what does it mean to be independent artist in Belarus. What does it mean to be independent in authoritative countries? Is it possible, or is it just a naive illusion of young people? During this process of filming, I understood that it could be much more than only observation of three artists. During the film process, there were a lot of events that gave me a signal that it will be, maybe it could be some uprising in the future in this society, because the society is very divided. We have to deal with a lot of modern thinking, free thinking people who are living, let's say, very separated from authorities. And on the other side, we have to deal with very archaic authorities that absolutely don't understand the society. And this gap, this delta is huge. So huge. So huge that it's something special in Europe. I don't see in other countries such huge. Maybe in Poland, but not so huge. But not anymore.
That's true.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was. It could shift the other way very easily.
Absolutely. I'm very lucky for Poland. And it's a good example for the whole Europe. Yes, and back to the topic. To be honest, my expectation was not that it could happen in 2020. My expectation was that it could be 2023, 2024, when Russia want to invade in Belarus, and then people will uprising.
So something, let's say, more drastic from...
Absolutely. To be honest, a lot of Belarusian thought that the Belarus will be the first country that Russia will invade, not the Ukraine. And it was the main fear. After Crimea, a lot of Belarusian people understood, wow, maybe we will win the next one. And then 2020, and then this absolutely overwhelming uprising. I think on Sunday, 17th of August, there were every fourth person in Minsk were on the street. Every fourth, could you imagine? Every fourth or every fifth, yeah.
That's masses of people.
I
Right?
think
How many people lived back then
in Minsk?
in Minsk?
I think Minsk have population about 2 million, and I think 400 people were on the street, approximately, yeah. Every five,
Yeah.
Could you imagine? I think it's the most, in percentage, the most biggest protest after 1991 in Europe.
It was, yeah. I observed it quite closely. I also had a lot of friends from Belarus. Back then I lived in Amsterdam, and I had it like second hand from them. So for a few years before that, you were filming the 3 protagonists from the Belarus 3 theater. And as I imagine, you went from time to time to Belarus to work with them. And then you decided, when you saw the protests, to go there as well and film on the streets.
Before the protest, before the election day. I moved beginning of August, and 9th of August there was election day, and it was clear for me, okay, from 9th of August it will be very tough.
And I assume you got this question a lot of times, but of course you're not like a conflict or war reportage filmmaker, you're an artist. How does one prepare for filming in such dangerous conditions?
Shortly before the protest, I changed the camera person, because it was clear for me that to take a responsibility for foreign camera person, it's a huge. And then I had a conversation with German camera person, yes, Maser, and tell that, yes, I think it will be really, really dangerous. Let's change a camera person. Are you okay for?
How did they react?
Absolutely,
they took it serious.
Absolutely,
they were like,
he said, of course, Alexei, for sure. And then I found Tanya Haurilchik. She's one of the courageous person who I really met in my life, really, and it was really a huge present for me, maybe from God, I don't know, to find her, and she gone with me all this way, and I'm very, very grateful for Tanya that she took it really seriously, and she took it very, with a lot of understanding what we are doing together. And some weeks before the election day, she called me and said that, Alexei, we have to be prepared. Let's buy a gas mask. Let's buy other stuff. And then I understood, okay, she understand what will going on. We could not be prepared enough, and when you're living in Belarus, we cannot secure us. We cannot have a how to say in English?
Bullet protection.
Bullet protection, and but we were prepared. Let's say we were prepared, not as thousands of Belarusians who was on the street. Yeah, they're very, very naive. Don't have gas mask because of gas and other stuff.
I think it's also at least how you show it in the film and how I saw it from other footages or from people telling me, because it did start as a peaceful protest of people going out and almost celebrating, a feeling like something new is coming, right? I think people perhaps didn't expect how bad it's gonna get.
Yeah, mostly of people not expect, but some of people of who was not on the first time on the street,
they knew.
What will be,
what the government is able to do. Then your film premiered at the Berlinale here in Berlin. It got, I think, a lot of exposure, many awards, nominations. How did it feel for you?
On one hand, it was good that the film raised attention and spread the word on the other hand, I understood that it will be. I will have a kind of consequence of all this attention, and I had some calls, some talk with people, with Russian people who are living in Germany, and of course I was thinking about my family, my parents living in Belarus.
Threats. Right?
Threats, yes.
Yeah.
I had some threats, yeah. And the second point that's really, really crazy is that I started to do a censorship with the film. As soon the film raised a huge attention, a lot of people from Belarus who was living in Belarus at this time started to write me, Alexei, how could we watch this film? A lot of people wanted to watch this film. And then I was really seriously thinking that I could do an online screening on the first year of anniversary of the protest. But then I understood that it could be very dangerous for the people who are
still
in Belarus,
yeah.
And in the film. And then I decided not to do it. And we're speaking about the August 21, yeah. And in July 21, there are huge, before also, but in July 21, there were huge wave of repression started, really huge in Belarus. A lot of activists were arrested. Almost all independent media resources were closed, and also editors of this media resource were arrested. Non-governmental organizations, almost all in the country, were closed and also arrested. A huge wave of repression started this time, and then I understood, okay, you have to censor your film.
For the protection
of your not protagonists, but people who maybe could be in film. And then we decided together with distribution company to cancel all our agreement with iTunes, Amazon, Google, and so on and so on. And it means that you cannot watch this film online, just only in cinemas or television station, but also with a protection. And and it's also not so easy for artists to take this decision, because every artist wants it. Every director,
you want to share your work, right? Of course,
absolutely, yeah. And he wants to have a feedback, to have a conversation with your audience. And of course, in the situation when a lot of people have to watch this film. For example, we started Oscar campaign for this film, but you cannot watch it online. It's also very difficult to compare with other films who are online, who are on Netflix, who are on all these international platforms, and your film not. It's very ambivalent situation, and but I think it was the right decision, of course, till now.
Priority, right?
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Security is on the first.
Since especially that you are showing a lot of faces, right? You are showing all the people who are on the streets. You can recognize them easily.
Yeah.
So it was actually one thing I was definitely thinking about when seeing your film. Like, what about the protection of those people? So it's good to hear that. Of course, it was part of your whole process of thinking about it. And
you cannot watch you can watch this film only on cinemas.
One aspect that for me was very valuable is the side of the people who actually are like the guards or the security, those who work for the government. That's their job to, in a way, be part of those who enforce the violence on the civil society.
During the filming, after the presidential election, when all this tough time was gone, I started to thinking, how could you understand other side? And all these guys were they secure their faces and only eyes were open.
That's true. Yeah, they have balaclavas and you only see the eyes. Yeah, so their identity is well protected.
Yes, and then I start to think about the concept and understood that. By the way, I called my ex-professor, and she, together with her, she gave me a good idea. She said to me, try to film eyes. And then I say to as a camera woman, Tanya, let's film the eyes and the face of this people, and you can watch in eyes what's going.
You can see so much, right?
Yeah. And this was a concept to understand. It was just trying to understand these people, because it's not enough. And I working right now on a new project, and I working also with this idea, what's going on in this let's say second side.
Because they are also people, right? I mean, they have families. They're also Belarusians,
and also young. Most of them are very young.
Probably you have seen the film of Agnieszka Holland, Green Border.
Of course, yeah, great film.
Also, I think their big part of it is exactly the same idea of trying to understand what is going on in the minds of the guards who actually have to enforce the violence that comes from the top, right? As you said, the film Courage is being screened still in cinemas. Recently, you also had a few screenings, one of them in Berlin, where I was able to see the film as well. So what does it mean for you now to show the film and to get feedback from the audience? Situation of the protagonist and of the country changed so much drastically.
I understand that the film is still quite actual. And of course, a lot of changed, a lot of. After the full-scale invasion, Russia and Ukraine, the film opened some new levels for me also. Yeah, and for example, one of the protagonists of the film, not the main, but one of the protagonists, also decided to come to Ukraine, and together with hundreds of Belarusians, he fighting, of course, on the Ukrainian side, on the front in Ukraine. What does it mean for young artists to take a gun and go to the war? A lot of people asking me, what's going on right now in Belarus? There are no at all information coming from this country.
We don't hear anything.
I don't hear anything, because all media are abroad.
Sadly enough, I think what we hear here is that Belarus joined Russia, or the government of Belarus joined Russia. And I think a lot of people just again see it as one.
Yes. Of course, it's quite good situation for Putin that he took a country without any war, and he have control of his country. Of course, it's not so easy and not so black and white. Still, Belarusian soldiers not in the war. And Lukashenko tried to balance between Putin and West. It's very interesting process that's going on right now. We also see that sanctions don't really work. We also see that European Union don't really want to change something in Belarus. Yeah, let's be really open. We see right now, after the almost more than 2 years of full-scale war, that the whole Europe is tired, and the whole Europe don't want that Russia will lose the war. In a lot of protests we see. When we organize new screening of Courage in West Europe here, it shows how difficult situation Belarus is. That it's not so quite easy, and all people, for example, for Ukraine, saying why you didn't manage to create Maidan in Belarus, because we don't have a gun as in Ukraine people. We cannot secure us. There were some elements that European Union and West, collective Western could change in Belarus, but it's a question of wishness, Wille,
if you wanted the will to change,
the will, and let's be very open. There were a lot of power in Western Europe who don't want it.
Well, I guess what remains is continue making films and continue speaking through the artistic language in that way that you, of course, are doing. You are working now on some new things. You said before coming here you were writing, working on a new film. Can you reveal some of it?
It will be a fiction film. It will be a story about one independent photographer, Pavel, and about his relationship with his father working in the system. And Pavel going through the transformation from pacifist to the person who are starting to think about how could he change the situation in the country. He will be arrested, he will be tortured, and that all. Event started in 2020, of course, but it has also connection with today, with nowadays.
How do you film a fiction film, but still, about Belarus not being able to go to Belarus?
Yeah, it's a difficult start. It's really tough task. We will try to do it in Poland. Yeah.
Right.
We look
Find similar
location, yes.
scenarios.
Warsaw, it looks like quite similar to Minsk,
All right.
partly.
I'm curious. I will probably recognize it.
yes.
All right.
We also
So there are some cinematographic tricks
yes,
to, let's say.
absolutely. Yeah, we are working right now on location scouting together with a great Polish cameraman Wojciech Staren. We were in January, beginning of February in Łódź, in Białystok, in Warsaw, and we are searching for some similar location. We have to recreate Minsk in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the topic of this generational experience gap, is it something very visible in the Belarusian society? That's
Yes.
why it interests you, I assume.
I think so, yes. I think so. And
What would you say is the reason for it, the main reasons? Is
We
it
have to
just like generation, like people growing up in different system with
Yes.
different access to information? And
yeah, we have to deal with a new generation who was born after the Soviet Union was collapsed in an abandoned Belarus, and of course, these people they are quite different as their parents. Yeah, and these people reading the same books as people in West Berlin. This listening to the same music as people in Amsterdam, and they are very modern, very thinking, and it's my generation. And I'm interested to have a dialogue, and also to have a dialogue with I have some question to this generation, because a huge part of this generation was on the street in 2020. On the street, not only in Minsk, in the whole country. We have to say that the protests were not only in Minsk; they all cities, small villages were also deeply involved in protest. And right now we have to deal with that partly, a huge part of this generation. As we speak about generation, as I speak about generation 30 plus, huge part of this generation are abroad in exile, small part of these people in prison in Belarus, and also a small part of this generation are in Ukraine on the front. And it's a huge strategy for society, for one country. Also 100,000 of young people have to escape. And what's going in this society? What's going with to be able to risk the most valuable that you have in your life, for the foreign country, not for your country. And not a lot of people in the world know about it. How many Belarusians right now on the front? I was with Screening of Courage in Bucha and Kiev, end of November, and I had the conversation with these young, not only young guys. You can feel it, how many guilty they have, how many feeling of fear. No one speak about of victory. No one of them have euphoria. All of them speak to survive on the front. And on the other part, they understand that they are on the right place.
it feels the right place to be
there, yeah,
in this dark time for them.
I don't want to be very pathetic and to speak with these huge words, but yes, it's also my question: what's going on? And the project that I'm working right now, the work title is Legacy, Spadchina. It's about this generation gap, yeah, what the old generation, let's say parent generation, gave to young generation. And this young generation don't want to have this legacy. They escape from this legacy.
Last two questions, more general space to dream and what is your dream and hope for the future? Next months, next years?
My dream is to film this film in Minsk.
I never went, actually. I hope one day I'll have the occasion still, since you say it's similar to Warsaw. Could be fun to see that. Yeah, and last but not least, as I already told you at the beginning, before we started recording, to not be too big of a surprise that I always end up speaking about food. As you know, the podcast is called Kitchen Conversations. We don't do it in the kitchen, but food is somehow always jumping in at the end. What are you thinking about when someone asks you what's your favorite home food?
I like to cook. I have to cook. I think I see a huge parallel between art and cooking.
That's nice.
And I like very much potato. And I like to cook with a lot of potatoes. And when I have a nostalgia and Heimweh feeling, I try to cook some homesickness. Yeah, try to cook potatoes, for example, potatoes puree. How do I say English?
Like mashed potatoes.
Yeah, mashed potatoes. Yeah.
And then you would eat it with something else, right?
Something else. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And a bit of like cream inside or butter.
Yes. Maybe salmon fillet or some meat.
On the side.
Yeah. I also like this draniki. It's our traditional food. But it takes a lot of time. You have to rasp it.
The potatoes first.
Yeah. And I really like to do this soup. It's called soup haladnik. With kefir, maybe you know it.
Yeah.
It's very delicious. And
is it with cucumbers?
Cucumbers. Buraki.
Beetroots.
Beetroot, yeah. Rotabeta.
So it's a red soup.
It's red soup with a lot of kefir and with eggs.
Hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's great for summer, no?
Yes. It's a summer soup.
Yeah.
It's so delicious when it's really hot and you eat it. Oh,
amazing.
Yeah. Some of people also take potato inside.
Oh, if you love potatoes, they go anywhere, right?
Yes.
Nice. That's great. Delicious.
Thank you, Patrycja. Thank you for your time.
And this was it for today. Thank you for reaching till the end of this podcast episode. The next one is coming in 4 weeks, always on Monday. Please follow the podcast and leave a rating if you're listening on Spotify. There is 2 ways you can support the further development of this platform. Number 1 is to buy the Kitchen Conversations cookbook, homey recipes from artists, that features home dishes from the first 17 guests who appeared on the podcast. And number 2 is to become a patron of Kitchen Conversations and support this platform with an amount of your choice that starts with $2.50 per month. More info you can find on patreon.com/kitchenconversations. In the meantime, take good care and we hear each other soon.